So Games Workshop have now officially confirmed the time that we'll get to see the 10th edition launch box. It's going to be 9 AM on the 29th of April. It is indeed going to be at the Warhammer Fest preview, so let's talk about the details and what we might expect. Hello and welcome back to Horsebets Tactics, where over the past few weeks Games Workshop has been rolling out 10th edition Warhammer 40k. Loads of hype built up between the new models and all these new rules teased. It's going to be a big fresh new edition of the game, and the first time people are going to get their hands of it and actually be able to play it is going to be in Warhammer Fest, really quite close to be honest, on the 29th of April. That does have some pretty good implications. It means that we know very roughly when the launch box is going to be coming out for general consumption. And it's kind of interesting that it could mean that we actually get the digital rules for 10th edition around this sort of time really quite soon, because if people are going to be able to play with this game, they will need at least a somewhat complete version of the rules, and it would seem a little bit unlikely to me that they'd just restrict it to paper copies or something playing at that event, and expect people to just keep quiet about it. In any case, the big news today is that basically Warhammer Fest is going to be the launch box for Warhammer 40k. Obviously much more going on besides. Games Workshop seems to be putting in a bunch of effort into this big event in Manchester in the UK. There's going to be multiple tournaments running, hobby painting stuff, Golden Demon things and cosplay stuff. So for people who collect 40k and aren't going to be attending the event in person, the 10th edition reveals are pretty much going to be the headline news. Previously in their teasers, they had said that the first time that people are going to be able to play Warhammer 10th edition is going to be at this event. That kind of implied that it will probably be the launch box there, though I guess they could have had some small demo games of another nature. And it sounds like the way that they're going to organise it is they will have a Warhammer 40k experience zone set up there, and people will be able to get in a few games with presumably the Space Marines against the Tyranids. For the timing and access of this, it's going to be an event in Manchester in the UK on the 29th of April for 3 days, the Warhammer preview being at 9 AM on the Saturday, and followed up by a bunch of things for other systems. It looks like the Saturday access tickets have already sold out, unfortunately. At last I looked, there were tickets for the other days, though I'm not sure if that's still the case. There's going to be a live 9 AM launch box preview, which they said they're going to be streaming on Twitch. Not sure if that's going to be a separate online affair or just literally filming the people at the event, as it's followed up with a Warhammer 40k Q&A, which I think would be really quite interesting to see. It's maybe not the most sociable time going around the world. It will be very early in the morning for people over in the USA, 4 AM in New York for example, though I guess it's going to be something interesting to watch when people wake up. As I mentioned in previous videos, this whole release does fit in really quite well with their prior Horus Heresy release during the same time frame last year. The new edition of the game was announced around about a month before Warhammer Fest, and then the official launch box reveal for the Age of Darkness box set happened at Warhammer Fest itself, and then perhaps the time frame after that gives us a better idea as to how the 10th edition box is going to come out. There was a bit of a lull period for 3 weeks after the reveal, then they had a big pre-order that was extended for 3 weeks worth of time for the Age of Darkness box set, and it actually meant that the people started getting their hands on it around about 6 weeks after the official reveal at Warhammer Fest, so something around this sort of time frame seems pretty likely. It would mean around about a mid-June release for the Warhammer 40k game, which is what people were predicting before based on their other releases, and a couple of other clues from Games Workshop organisational stuff. Until then, it looks like we'll be getting a few teasers of the launch box with some miniatures for the Space Marines and the Tyranids being revealed. Again, this follows pretty closely with the teasers that we got in the Indomitors box set back when 9th edition launched. The way that that one worked was that we saw a few different teasers of the models within the box, but when the actual launch box reveal came out, they did have a bunch more stuff to show us. It was around about 50-50 between things that they'd already shown off, compared with new things that were in the box as well. Looks like the pattern so far for this has been previews on Mondays, alternating between Tyranids and Space Marines. Besides the initial Termagants and Terminators that we saw, we've since had a Primaris Phobos Lieutenant, a Primaris Terminator Captain, and in between them there were some Von Ryan's Leapers, so it looks like next week's one will most likely be a Tyranid one unless they decide to speed up the release schedule and start showing things faster. If they keep to their current time schedule though, it'd mean that we'd just have the one more Tyranid reveal before the big box. Maybe something like that new Wings character could be kind of fun to see. Otherwise, with the launch box teaser, I do wonder whether or not we might get digital rules going live at around about this point. If they are indeed going to be showing off the core rules of Warhammer 40k at their events, it kind of implies that they're going to be revealed at that point, as it will be strange to just have them revealed to the people there and then have everyone else just hear about them anyway through hearsay, rather than controlling their own narrative and unleashing at least the core rules at that point. I think there's at least a reasonable chance that we get the core rules for 10th edition then, perhaps just alongside the datasheets for playing with the models in the launch box, though I guess it's entirely possible they could be just throwing out their full faction rules for us, though that would have been a bit earlier than I would have expected. I'm certainly looking forward to it though if we do wind up getting the full reveals for 10th edition's rules. It'll give us a whole load to talk about. As I mentioned in a few videos, I'd be expecting the launch box to be looking at least something like this. This one was just my predicted one, given what we know from the teaser trailer and the previous Indomitors box set that preceded it and did very well for GW. I'd be guessing a big box with maybe a Terminator on the front, price ranging somewhere between the $230 and $300 mark. And for this to be an initial launch and excitement box with monopose models, only a limited time offering, and then followed up by the individual starter boxes that we have in 9th. We'd almost certainly be getting the core rulebook and a paper booklet of datasheets for the models, and then Space Marines versus Tyranids forces, somewhat equivalent to what we can see here. These are just very rough ones that we've seen in the teaser trailer, two kind of equal forces. Might not be quite as big as this, but I feel like this isn't unreasonable given the Indomitors box and the Age of Darkness box. For the Space Marines, so far we've had confirmed the Terminator Librarian, Phobos Lieutenant, and the 5 Terminators, facing off against at least 10 Termagants and 3 Von Ryan's Leapers. Beyond that, for the Space Marines, I'd expect some combi weapon veterans, some flamer-armed troops, and a big ranged dreadnought, backed up by a few more characters. And then on the Termagant side, we saw a great big winged critter, some sort of feedery beast things with tentacles, a few Biovores, a Screamer Killer, and maybe some more Termagants if they want to go fairly hoardy. All very speculative at the moment, of course, but I'd expect some sort of semblance of that to turn up. Finally, of course, they have confirmed that it isn't just going to be Warhammer 40k at this thing. Some sort of live previews for the vast majority of their gaming systems, things for Warhammer Underworlds, Middle-earth, Age of Sigmar, and the Horus Heresy, though I feel like perhaps one of the more interesting 40k reveals will be Kill Team. What they're going to be doing for the next year or so will be changing up quite a bit. I guess we're going to be getting out of the era of them on that Gallo Dark Space Hulk. I guess the next year worth of releases will probably have a different kind of theme. One kill team that's been rumoured for quite a long time will be some sort of Inquisitor warband retinue. It'd tie in quite nicely with the Arcs of Omen end narrative teaser that we had, plus a couple of rumour engines look like they could represent an Inquisitorial kill team. Otherwise, Horus Heresy could also have some interesting stuff relevant for the 41st millennium. And perhaps another one in this roster that's most interesting will be that Warhammer the Old World, retro-style Warhammer fantasy on square bases. Pretty interesting that they're adding that to the lineup with their other games. I'll certainly be looking to cover any stuff from the grim darkness of the far future though. The Warhammer 40k stuff will be really interesting to go through, and I'll certainly cover the Kill Team release from a 40k perspective as well. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. What are your hopes and fears for this reveal, and what do you think that we're going to get in terms of digital rules in and around this preview? If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I'll certainly be keeping up with any Games Workshop 10th edition things. I do tend to post new videos just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and that's how I can afford to keep on making quite so many videos like this just about every single day. Channel patrons do get a few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.